Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris, the Candyman, and you already know what time it is. Tonight, we're previewing week 9. We might draft some dailies on Underdog Fantasy. Maybe we'll get into some primetime paloozas, battle royales, something on the main slate. Who knows? But we're also going to talk what happened week 8, the fallout. Let me know, did you win your matchups? Did you lose? Are you in a win now situation for week 9? Waiver wires, sit start decisions, rest of season outlooks, trades, and more. Live chat, live Q&A with the chat. What are you going to do? Everyone's asleep in the house until they're not. The 3-year-old doesn't want to go to bed. Classic dad duties, but she's fine. Where was I? Let's talk about the running backs the running back scores in week 8. We had some huge performances. Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Breece Hall, Saquon Barkley, all putting up more than 30 fantasy points and half-point PPR. Chase Brown, a name we haven't talked about in the right context, in a good light, all season long, puts up 24 fantasy points, has himself a game in week 8. RJ Harvey goes off again. This time he puts up his best game of his career with a 3-touchdown game. He joins the 3-touchdown club. Of course, the president of the 3-touchdown club, one Jonathan Taylor, gets it done again. Incredible. So there were 6 running backs who scored 20 or more fantasy points. 4 of them put up 30 points. It was a pretty good week for running backs in week 8. All that and more. We're going to talk week 9, look at the matchups. Like I said, maybe even draft some teams on Underdog Fantasy. But if you're new to the channel, or if you're watching this later, make sure you're subscribed. I've got a goal to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the NFL season, and I think we might be able to get it done. I think we can do it, but I need your help. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure you slap that like on the way in. Go vote in the poll. Come say what up in the chat. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. Let's get right into it after the intro. But overall, it's like the guy can ball. Like, actions speak louder than words. What's up? How we doing, Galaxy Pickers? Hope you're having a great week, my man. What up? What up? Go ahead and add this to the stage. Boom, boom. Put that here. All right. I've filtered this data to look at the week 8 results, and I kind of want to start here going through it with the running backs, one at a time. See what we can get into here. Make this a little bit smaller. Perfect. Okay. Jonathan Taylor in week 8, 153 rushing yards, 13 yards a carry, had an 80-yard run, his longest run of the day, of course. 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions for 21 yards, and a 3rd touchdown through the air. He puts up the 36.4. It's going to be the highest scoring running back performance on the entire season. He's not a stranger to the leaderboard. He's been there all season. Jonathan Taylor continues to get it done. We look at his performance, 75% of his games this season. So 6 out of those 8 games, Jonathan Taylor has been able to put up 20 or more fantasy points. And he just continues to get it done. Just the 101 in my mind. So it's Jonathan Taylor, and then it's everyone else. James Cook puts up a very nice, about a 34-point week. His big score of the year coming in week 8 on the back of 2 touchdowns. He, 216 rushing yards. Enough said. Didn't even have a single reception, if you can believe that, to put up that score. Insane. Jonathan Taylor averaged, I wanted to get to this too. Jonathan Taylor with those 3 touchdowns had 2.6 fantasy points per touch. Literally insane. Every time you get him the ball, you're expecting to get more than 2.5 fantasy points. James Cook about 1.77. Breece Hall finds his way into elite territory for the first time this season. Puts up not a 20-point game, which he hadn't done yet. Not a 17-point game, which he hadn't done yet. He puts up a 31.9 fantasy week. 147 total yards, the 2 touchdowns. He gets it done on 20 total touches, about 1.6 fantasy points per touch. Galaxy Pickers, what's up, brother? Says, yo, start JCM or Harvey this week. Right off the top of my head, I'm feeling Harvey. But we'll look into the matchups. We'll get into that. Just hear from my lullaby. Anthony, what's up? Best ball on call. How we doing, brother? Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for stopping by, my friend. We got Andrew Burwell. What's up, brother? How we doing? Happy Tuesday. Hope your week's off to a good start. Says, up, bro. Quick question. Do I trade Achane and Sutton for Puka and Woody? Yes. Give me Puka and Woody. I want Puka over pretty much most players in fantasy. And Achane is not better than Puka in my mind. Sutton is good. He's having a great season. I mean, Courtland Sutton, he's a guy. He's been getting it done, putting up some big numbers and having some good weeks. But at the end of the day, he's fine. He's a wide receiver 2 on a good week, right? Maybe borderline wide receiver 1, but not really. So I want Puka, just the best player in the trade. I think Woody Marks is a viable flex going forward. You just got to hope the Texans don't have to run the ball 37, 39 times for him to be able to get his work. And I was talking about this on Twitter earlier today. I was talking about this on my YouTube short that I put out there. I think Woody Marks has a little bit of a better outlook going forward, second half of the season, all of that stuff with the rookies, but also he has that safer reception floor. So we're hoping he catches some passes. His wide receivers are Sutton, Waddle, and Pearsall. So yeah, yikes on the Pearsall. My running backs are Saquon, King Henry, Achane, Dowdle, and Charbonnet. half point. Yeah, you're good with Saquon and King Henry, Achane, Dowdle. You're good with those 4. I would try to upgrade at wide receiver. I think Puka is the way to do it. I think you'll be just fine there. And then we're going to look up Galaxy Pickers question next. But I'm going to say what up to everyone, and we'll come back to your questions. What's up, Nihal? How we doing? Billy in the chat. GM. Got Jake in here. Thoughts on Quinshon? Well, we'll definitely get to this one. Matt, friend. What's up, brother? Hey, get Tracy this week. That sounds actually pretty good. We got Huhaim. Sup, fam? How we doing, brother? What up? Okay, so Galaxy says, do we start JCM or Harvey? And we don't have the Jake Seeley adjusted points allowed data out yet. It's not published for week 9 yet, but we can at least look at the matchups for this week and just get a sense of what's going on, right? So, light mode, my eyes. Let's look right into the week 9 matchups. We have the Washington Commanders, again in primetime, this time Sunday Night Football, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Stout run defense. So not a great spot to be in for good old Bill Krosky Merritt. Not a great spot to be in him for him this week, but at least they're the home team. I'll say that. And then talking about, do we start Bill over Harvey when Harvey just exploded for 3 touchdowns on practically no touches? The Broncos play the Texans, an equally stout defense. The Broncos are on the road. The Texans have been giving up, I think, the fewest points to opposing teams this season, something like that. You can tell in the point totals at 39 over under, and the Texans are favored by 1.5 versus in this Washington game, it's actually a 46.5. Seattle's favored minus 2.5. I'm not sure yet. I think it's close. I'm leaning Harvey from what we just saw, but it's very matchup dependent. And on the road against Houston is pretty tough. Home against Seattle might be just that slight, that much better. But I don't know. It's kind of a 2-headed, 3-headed monster for Washington Commanders running backs. We saw Jeremy McNichols getting some high value touches, having some big plays. I still have faith in Bill. Undecided, but I think I'm slightly into Harvey, and then we'll kind of have to cross that bridge later this week. But great question, my friend. Hope you're doing well, Galaxy Pickers. Great to see you in here. And he wants to know, would you trade JCM for Marks? Gosh, I don't know. Just quick reacting to the week 8 and what they did. Obviously, Harvey only had 51 total yards, only 8 touches, but he had 3 touchdowns, right? Welcome to the 3 touchdown club, RJ Harvey. 2.95 fantasy points per touch. It's hard to beat that, but only 8 touches, small sample size. I like to think until you get about 12 to 14 touches, it's kind of hard to know. Jonathan Taylor got it done last week on literally 14 touches. I mean, imagine if they gave him the ball even more, if the Titans put up any fight. Let's scroll down a bit. Let's look at the performance this last week of Woody Marks first. He put up 111 total yards, 0.87 fantasy points per touch, right in line with kind of like what he's done this season, maybe a little bit better than his average. He didn't score a touchdown, but he had a ton of yards, and he caught 4 balls. Looks pretty good, right? 15 touches. Chubb got some too, though. We'll scroll down and see Chubb on this list. Nick Chubb had 19 total touches. He just didn't do a whole lot with them, at 0.42 fantasy points per touch. So neither of them had a touchdown. Chubb had way less yards, way less involvement in the passing game. I think it's not a green light on the touches. It's a yellow light on the touches, only because they used both backs so much, but it's a green light on the efficiency. And we hope, that continues. And it looks like it will for Marks. He's been much more efficient. So maybe they'll start to use Chubb even less. Let's scroll down until we find Bill Krosky Merritt. He had 25 total yards, 0.28 fantasy points per touch, his worst of the season, and didn't do a whole lot. So tough against Kansas City is not a great matchup. I think it's going to be matchup dependent. Knowing the Texans are playing the Denver Broncos, not the best matchup, either, but Rest of season, do I want Bill or do I want Woody Marks? I think I'm a slight lean to Woody Marks. Does that sound crazy? What do you guys think in the chat? What's up, Captain Moist Beard? How we doing, brother? Good to see you. All right, let's scroll back up. We'll start hammering through these questions. Yeah, like we were saying, Andrew, I think I'm down for this trade. Nihal wants to know. He says, I sent my friend Rome plus Spears for Justin Jefferson. Is that an insane trade? He thought it was nowhere near fair. So you're trying, I mean, people will hold on to Justin Jefferson for dear life. So it's going to take more than a Tajay Spears for that. But I can see what you're doing because, like, I think Rome is good. I think he is a top tier wide receiver, in that top wide receiver one kind of bracket. Jay Jettis is just like that guy, though. He's kind of in a world of his own. He's going to be hard to trade for. I think Spears has been putting up some nice utilization. Let's scroll down. We'll find Tajay Spears from this last week. I think I scrolled too far. Yeah, there he is right here. Didn't have it very highlighted, but Spears put up 1.31 fantasy points per touch on 12 touches. Very respectable. A total of 82 yards. He had a touchdown. He was really getting it done kind of on the ground. And he's been good. He's been good since he's been back. So you might just have to sit on Spears because people don't want to buy into that yet. They're probably not coming around with Spears just yet. But if you've got Spears on your team, like, you're seeing it with your own eyes, you know what to believe. So I don't think it's the worst offer. Rome is a nice piece. People probably just aren't valuing Spears correctly yet. Hope you're doing good, Billy. Good to see you here. Nihal says, yeah, Rome at 12. I'm kind of right there with you, though. I've come around too. Thoughts on Judkins long term, says Jake. I think the injury, he's on a bye this week, right? Judkins on a bye this week. The injury sounds manageable. I'll have to get more information, but it sounds like he'll be back after the bye. So long-term outlook on Judkins, pretty strong. Let's just look at this. Even with, let me see if this will refresh. I guess I'm not showing Judkins. I guess it's because he missed the game with the injury. But Judkins played last week. So let me go to that. How much did he play? Because he's not registering in my game log, but I know he played, obviously, right? Yeah, 9 carries. I'll have to fix that. I don't know why he didn't come through. That's really weird. Maybe the data got cut off or something, but I knew something was going to go wrong. So we'll have to kind of factor that in. But before that performance against the Patriots on Sunday, where he went out injured, he's been pretty good. Kind of a low average points per game, about 13, but he has, 0.7 fantasy points per touch, but he's averaging like 19 touches per game. So he is their workhorse back. They do bring out Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford a little bit, and more Sampson than Ford, especially recently on those passing downs. And I think it was Sampson kind of taking over when Judkins went down. But rest of season, I'm pretty in on Judkins. I think he still can put up some nice weeks. He put up 26.4 a couple weeks back. Had that big week. So rest of season, I'm pretty in on Judkins as borderline top 12 running back. I think he fits that description. He's right there. Yeah, I think Tyrone Tracy is probably worth it for this week. Let's just look at Tracy, though, and what he's done this season. Obviously, when Scatterboo comes on, Tracy was completely relegated to nothing. Scatterboo, by the way, RIP the Scatterboo, bags. And damn, we'll hope to see him back next season. 0.93 fantasy points per touch on 125 total touches. Dude is a killer. If we go down to Tyrone Tracy, we're going to have to scroll for quite a while, but we'll get there. Tyrone Tracy, 0.61 fantasy points per touch. So he's like barely 2/3 as good on 55 touches. I think we'll see some more volume and that can work out. But I think Tracy to me going forward is kind of like a best case scenario, 75% Scattaboo. So we're treating Scattaboo as a RB1 every week. I think we'd be treating Tracy as a low end RB2 going forward, but he's definitely startable, I think. So he's probably worth that first waiver priority, Matt. Jake says, I got Wilson and Sucky. They coming back? I was like, I couldn't even imagine who Sucky could have been. Bucky. Yeah, we don't know what's up with Bucky. Man, they're going into their bye week, and is he going to come back in week 10? I have no clue. I've been advocating not to trade for Bucky. If you've got him, I guess you're just holding him because what else are you going to do? Garrett Wilson, I haven't heard too much about that, but I thought he was maybe close to returning. He's also on a bye. I think there's a chance both of them are back after the bye week, but I don't have much to go off on that. We'll have to continue to read the coach speak this week and what they talked about. We can look into it a little bit. Captain says, dude, we can't play that Bill clip anymore. I know. It's the Chiefs defense, though, but at the same time, frustrating, right? Frustrating. Have to play him every week and it hasn't been good. Yeah, it can be worse. There could be worse players. I started Brashard Smith in my home league because I had buys and injuries. I had Gibbs on a bye. I had Bucky injured. Just the end of the world, end of the line. I started Brashard Smith, so it can get worse. Hey, appreciate you, Galaxy. Big problem is half of Washington plays are screens to Deebo or QB runs. That's why we need Jayden Daniels back. I can't stand watching Marcus Mariota play anymore. I thought it might have been fun for a little bit. He holds the ball way too long. Every single pass I watched of Marcus Mariota last night on Monday Night Football, it's him holding the ball too long, rolling out to the right, and then right before he gets to the sideline, he throws a ball to a receiver who's on the sideline. We saw Luke McCaffrey catch one of those, toe tapping it, and we saw some of them go for completions, but it was just a mess, and it's just like not a good fantasy environment. So we need Jayden Daniels back. That's the whole thesis for wanting a piece of this offense. And I think when Jayden Daniels comes back, Bill will be more effective as well. Lanes could open up more for Bill. Yeah, exactly. Read my mind there, Anthony. Read my mind. I've got Harvey, Bill, and Travion Henderson. Nice. Got to cut 2 to start a lineup. Ooh. Yeah. Let's go see. What did Henderson do again last week? I know he had like decent yardage, but not a great week. I think he had the fumble, right? So Henderson, 75 yards on the ground, sick. And a big play. Had one rush over 20 yards. Didn't catch a single ball. Sucks. No touchdowns. 0.55 fantasy points per touch. I'm pretty sure he had a fumble, right? That's the way we get to that fantasy output there. That score. So I would be advocating for cutting Bill and Travion Henderson to save Harvey, but I don't want to cut those guys, but you got to do it at some point. Is Mooney droppable? Yikes. I started Mooney in my home league in my flex. Yikes. We'll see better weeks. Kirk Cousins was pretty disappointing. I want Michael Penix Jr. back. I don't think Mooney is droppable in most leagues. It just depends on what your needs are with your injuries and buys, what you have going on. I'm still holding on to him. I'm not going to cut him. I mean, I don't know who I would drop him for. Speaking of waivers, Troy Franklin is available in my home league, half point PPR, 10 team, and I have a waiver to get him. I don't think I'm going to get him because I don't have the most cash in my fab. But like, would I cut Darnell Mooney for Troy Franklin? That's where I start to like wonder, right? So I don't think it's crazy. I'm not sure what I do there. Most people probably say yes. Yeah, Jake's giving some feedback. He thinks Woody over Bill for Galaxy. Gadsden, what's up? Sachin, how we doing? Good to see you, Sachin. Hope you're doing well, brother. Gadsden or Ferguson this week? Ooh, we got burned by Ferguson, didn't we? In my oldest Dynasty League, I started Ferguson. I've been starting him every week and got burned. He put up a goose egg. Let's look at the matchups. I think that'll help us understand. The quick answer is Gadsden because he's on such a roll. Oh, what are we doing here? Look at the matchups. We've got the Chargers on the road against Tennessee. It doesn't get much better than that. So the Cowboys and I'm trying to remember who the Cowboys playing again this week. Oh, that's because it's on Monday night against Arizona. I think that's a decent matchup. Arizona's not the worst defense, though. Ferguson in prime time is pretty appealing. A little bit higher risk with the rookie. But give me Gadsden this week. The dude's been on a roll. Let's also look at those two teams side by side. And we're using the ftnfantasy.com air yards table. But we're going to use it to look at Whopper, which is the weighted opportunity score. So if I pull up the Dallas Cowboys and I also compare that against the Los Angeles Chargers, there we go. They're going to rank this, sorted by Whopper here. I could probably zoom in a little, but we'd lose some of the data. But I'll kind of tell you guys what I'm seeing. Oh, you know what? I'll filter it to tight end as well. Well, no, I like having the context of the wide receivers. So Pickens leads, obviously he's played more games than CeeDee Lamb, but it's an efficiency metric. It's an opportunity metric. So it is kind of like weighted to opportunities. It's not volume dependent, but Pickens has had more opportunities for bigger games. All that said, Whopper is a combination of their target share and their share of air yards. Pickens leads that. He's got a 57% Whopper, and he's getting it done efficiently. Like JSN is like a 90%. There's players who are like huge on this scale. Closer to like anything above 30% is really good or good. Anything above like 50% is insane. Keenan Allen's second. Ladd McConkey's third. Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey pretty close, 53, 54 each. Quentin Johnston at 42%. We scroll down, we see Jake Ferguson at 39%. He's got a 20% target share, almost as good as George Pickens. He's only got a 12% air yard share, but we know he's getting the volume of the receptions. He's got 51 receptions on the year, essentially through 7 games because he didn't catch a ball last week. But through 8 games now, the 6 touchdowns matches Pickens. He's been a touchdown merchant. But those are kind of, I don't know how sticky that is week to week. And then Gadsden right below CeeDee Lamb. Gadsden's at 25% opportunity, 11% target share, 11% air yard share. I bet you if we filtered this to not all weeks, but if we did like a range of weeks, we could let's first look at week 7, then we'll look at week 8. Let's tell a much different story. Gadsden's at 39% Whopper, a 16% target share, 17% target share, and a 20% air yard share in week 7. In week 8, Gadsden was at a 18% target share, a 21% air yard share. So he's been above Ferguson. Oh, I did select 2 weeks there. Okay, I've got the last 2 weeks selected. Let's do the last 3 weeks. Perfect. Week 6, 7, and 8. Ferguson's at 11% target share, 9% air yard share. Gadsden's at 19% target share, 20% air yard share. The opportunity for Gadsden is just so much stronger over the last 3 weeks. Do I think Herbert can sustain an offense, in the same range of kind of tier that Dak can? Like, hell yeah, brother. So give me Gadsden this week based on the matchup and based on what we're seeing over the last 3 weeks. I like it. Great question. Hey, Jake. Appreciate the super chat. Just caught that. Appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much. He says, can we cut White if Bucky is in? I wouldn't, because the re-injury risk is going to be there for Bucky, and White has shown that he's like very reliable, right? White has been a guy that can do it on his own. So looking at Bucky, 0.69 fantasy points per touch on 90 touches before the injury through the first 4 weeks. Honestly, pretty volume dependent, not incredible, but he did have a 23-point fantasy game. We go down to Rachaad White. He's at 0.76 fantasy points per touch on 96 touches. So he's actually been more efficient. I don't know if that's the defensive matchups, the, combination of different factors. It's close enough. He has a 21-point week. I think that was the first week of his official starter back there in week 5, I want to say. I think White has standalone value even with Bucky back, and we'll just have to see with the injury. Like, when does Bucky come back? So I don't want to cut White anytime soon, and I definitely don't want to cut him on their bye week right now. Let's hold on to White. Great question, Jake. Thanks so much for the super chat, brother. Always appreciated, never required. Thanks for being here, man. Shout out to Hartman. Shout out to Putt Daddy. Yo, what up, Hartman? How we doing, my dog? Hartman and I, and Who Hames. I forgot to mention, I saw Who Hames in the chat earlier. Me, Hartman, Who Hames. We're going live tomorrow night, this time here on the channel, the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm going to put together a little something. Last week we were looking at the rest of season outlook using, I think it was, some of this Data Muse data. So I'm going to reach out to Hartman. We're going to sync up on that, and we're going to put together a little game just to kick off the show tomorrow. So look forward to that. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you're subscribed here tonight and catch us tomorrow. Two of my guys, two of the sharpest guys in the best ball space and the fantasy space are going to be on the show with me, and we're going to be having some fun, talking everything main slate week 9, talking rest of season outlooks, answering all our questions in the chat. You guys already know what it is. We've been doing it for weeks, but look forward to that. I should have already posted the stream so you guys could see that it's going to be there tomorrow, but I'll post it after I go live. Get finished going live tonight. We got Putt Daddy in the chat. What's up, brother? Yeah, time to hang it up, Kirk. Man, RIP. That was rough, huh? Pretty rough. Let's see where we are. Yeah, so I'm Gadsden over Ferguson this week, Sachin. Thanks for the question. Anthony says, no Judkins week 1. True. Okay. This is 100%. You caught me in that one. I was like, why is it 7 for Judkins? He didn't play week 1. Anthony's a genius. The data's never wrong. I always trust the data. There's got to be a reason, right? Yeah, thanks for that, Anthony. You just restored my confidence in the numbers that I'm looking at, which means a lot to me. Yeah. Also, very sharp. One of my guys, Anthony, best ball on call. Always looking out for you, boy. Stream Murray or McCarthy this week. Murray's been terrible, right? But McCarthy's been out. They both have equally good weapons. Let's go straight to the matchups, and I'm going to use that as a barometer. Give me Kyler Murray against Dallas versus JJ McCarthy, who's playing at Detroit, which I think that's actually not the worst matchup either at Detroit. That's kind of a fun game. Could be a shootout potential, but let's go with Monday Night Football, the highest scoring game on the slate, 54.5 over under, compared to also pretty nice 48.5 for the Minnesota at Detroit. Little preview of week 17 there when it's Detroit at Minnesota, but let's go Kyler Murray over JJ McCarthy until we see it. McCarthy back in full go, but we haven't seen it really much from Kyler either, so pretty concerning. It's a tough place to be in for Matt. Yeah, best ball on call is a G. Shout out. Putt Daddy said, what up? Started Bill in my Superflex league, but didn't matter because I started the worthless Kirk Cousins as well. Yeah, both dead. Gosh, I put up 2 zeros in my oldest dynasty league. I had, who was it? I had Jake Ferguson put up a 0, and I had someone else go for a 0. Oh, I had freaking Jerry Jeudy. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look, but I'm almost certain he put up a 0. I think that's who it was. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, if you've got him in your dynasty leagues, tough. If you haven't redraft, just an instant cut. Jake says, I'm a Jets fan. One win felt like a Super Bowl. Yeah, shout out to the Jets. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to CB Jets fan, Chris B, who's always in the chat. You guys got the win. I've been pulling for the Jets for my guy Chris's team, and they got it done in an extremely fun fashion too, coming back, putting up all those points in that game. It ended up being 39 points, or was it just 38 points? But it did feel like a Super Bowl. It was a 39-38 win over the Cincinnati Bengals, who the Bengals have been kind of on a tear lately with Joe Flacco. Who would have seen that coming? Not me. Matt says, do I drop Otten for one of Loveland, Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson, or Evan Ingram? Because he's on a bye week, you could. I think these guys are in a similar tier for me, like Otten, Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson, Evan Ingram, Loveland, all going forward. I probably slightly favored Loveland because of the upside and what could happen there. But I think these are all like kind of streaming tight ends, so nothing too much there. Yeah, cut Nindy, who I assume is Travion Henderson, right? Or Bill, because otherwise I don't know who Nindy is, but Nindy must be Travion Henderson, Jake. So I'm saying, yeah, you were asking that before. If it's between Henderson or Bill, I'd probably keep Bill at this point. Am I crazy though? Travion's just been so bad. Even Bill is averaging 0.78 fantasy points per touch. Henderson's at 0.55. It like doesn't get it. Was that just last week or is that what he's been at the whole season? I think Henderson's actually at 0.65. So a little bit better than what he did last week in general, but he's trending in the wrong direction. You hate to see it. Yo, Frizzle, what's up, brother? How's it going? Happy Tuesday. Good to see you. Drop Pat's defense for Rams or Lions. I'm not like super versed in like what defenses I want right now. Pat's defense going forward, though, at least as far as we can look ahead to week 9, the Patriots are going to be home against the Falcons. If they start Kirk Cousins, I'm cool with holding the Patriots defense, but if it's against Michael Penix, it's a little bit different story. But then the Rams and Lions, I think the Lions are fine for a defense. The Rams have been pretty good, right? And the Rams have the Saints this week. So I would prefer to have the Rams hosting the Saints out of all your options there. And I think the Rams are fine rest of the season too. Thanks again to Jake for the super chat. Yeah, I like Gadsden also. Yeah, I'm pretty in. Damn, I better start studying, says Hartman. Get to it. Oh, Hartman, if you can, you don't whenever, if it's convenient, can you shoot me that link to the data we were looking at on Stream Together with myself and Huhames last week, the data muse stuff? I'm gonna pull some things together from that. Is what I want to do for our game tomorrow night. Nothing crazy, but if you could shoot me that link, like a Twitter DM, appreciate you. If not, I'm sure I'll find it. I'll find it after the stream. But if it's easy for you, if it's convenient. Yeah, Mindy could be Rashard Mendenhall. This is also true. Very true. What about Nindy, though, with an N? What about Nindy? Is that Rashard Mendenhall? Who would that be? Nindy, Nintendo. GameCube Nintendo. Kirk should have retired this year, but he's busy robbing the Falcons. No doubt. No doubt. And who wouldn't? I mean, I would if I was him. I'd be dropping Mooney for Tracy. I think that's fair, especially if you're like, if it's Mooney in my flex versus Tracy in my flex, probably give me Tracy going forward, right? But it's honestly, in my mind, still pretty close. With Penix back, I'm hoping better things for Mooney. Has a bad week. I don't know how else to explain it, but I still have some faith. Fannin, if you can still get him, yeah, Fannin a big ad, but I think he should be gone. Captain Moistbeard says, Theo, appreciate you, Captain Moistbeard, for helping out, for being a bro in the chat. Anytime in this community, in the Fantasy Football Garage community, anytime someone asks a question, I encourage us all, if you can, to chat and let us know what you think, because we're trying to get consensus here. You guys are just as sharp as I am. We're trying to get better every day. You know, the consensus of the chat is going to be my personal take and answer probably 9 times out of 10. But I think, you know, we can get there together. We can make some good informed decisions and try to win more than we lose and have a good time doing it. So play for ceiling, play for upside, have fun, trust the data, all that kind of stuff. But also, yeah, if you can, if you're sitting there on your phone or your computer and you want to like get involved in the chat, anytime someone asks a question, feel free to answer it, especially before I get to it, because I'm usually lagging behind, for example, about 10 minutes in the chat. Best case scenario, I'm right 5 minutes behind the chat. But this is very typical. This is very typical. I tend to rant, and we tend to dive into these questions pretty deep. Yo, what up to Smitty? How we doing, brother? I'll scroll down every once in a while just to see who's showing up, who's here. Make sure you guys slap that like button. Thanks for being here tonight. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Let me know. Did you win your most important matchup in week 8? Are you playing to win in week 9? What are we going for? Have we given up hope? I'm freaking 2-6 in my home league, so I'm just trying to bounce back and survive and make the playoffs, and then ruin someone's, 1 seed is what I'm trying to do in my home league. It's tough, but it's pretty close. Like, no, I think it's still pretty close. No one's really that far out in front in this league, and you can go from being in dead last to being first in or last in for the playoffs in about a week or two. It's pretty easy to flip things around. Yeah, Tracy not available in 12 leagues. Some of them he is. It just depends. Some people aren't. I'm not a huge Tracy guy. Yeah, if you got McBride and Fannin, I mean, you might be able to try to. And he's coming off a bye week, so it's tough. But sell high McBride and then roll with Fannin if you're ballsy and you need some help at the running back position or the wide receiver position. You think you can get more from McBride. People trade for that name value, but coming off of a bye, it's always hard to trade a player coming off of a bye. I will admit that. This is a free league. Are funny. Tyrone not available. Yeah, it just depends. Some people drop him. You never know who gets dropped and who becomes available in a given week. Yeah, get studying Hartman. 10-team PPR. I traded Gadsden for RJ in London. I like that. It's not good that London's hurt. It is good that RJ just popped off for 3 touchdowns on 0 touches. Literally, I don't know how it's possible, but actually 8 total touches, a 2.95 fantasy points per touch. I'm going to do us a favor here. I'm going to unfilter from week 8. And then I am going to... Do I have a calculation for the max points per touch? I do, but it's anyone who has over... Well, I have lists. I have lists of things. The most fantasy points per touch, the condition I think is you have to have at least 14 touches. Let me lower that to 8, greater than 7, because we know Harvey had 8. That kind of screws it up because it's Justice Hill, because Justice Hill went off in like week 4. But 3.28. Let me undo that. But just a little fun trivia there. Here's all the players with 3 touchdowns. RJ Harvey joins the list this week. We had Jonathan Taylor, Ashton Jeanty, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Skattebo, RIP, Quinshon Judkins, and RJ Harvey. Running backs with 2 receiving touchdowns, Ashton Jeanty and Kyron Williams. So that list has not changed for a while. In the list of guys who've actually done it with 3 rushing touchdowns, not total touchdowns, it's just Jonathan Taylor 3 times, Cam Skattebo, and Quinshon Judkins. Rest in peace, Cam Skattebo. Oh, what were we talking about? The RJ Harvey week. Jonathan Taylor had a 2.6 on 14 touches this week. Literally insane. We had David Montgomery, 2.22 when he put up 29 points way back when, early in their year, on 13 touches. Justice Hill with 8 touches, had 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's actually probably one of the more astounding performances of the year. It didn't help really anyone except for in best ball. And then RJ Harvey. People did start RJ Harvey, so he probably got a lot more redraft starts and managed league starts this last week when he put up 3 touchdowns, 51 yards, 2.95 fantasy points per touch on those 8 touches. Other than that, there's no one even close. I guess Kareem Hunt, I spoke too soon. He had that 2 touchdown game where he put up 18 points, 57 yards. So he had 2.28 fantasy points per touch on 8 touches. Pretty decent week for him. A couple weeks back, That was actually week 5. I know he had a nice little game again in this on Monday Night Football last night. Vulturing touchdowns from Rashee Rice. You hate to see it, but Rashee Rice still put up a nice week. Other than that, I mean, there's just, this doesn't really count. Jeremy McNichols, a 3.45 on 4 touches, though, because he had a big play with a score. So it takes one big play and a score, and then no other touches the rest of the game to like do anything even close, remotely close to what we've been seeing Jonathan Taylor do week in and week out. So I like this trade for you. Sell high on Gadsden, get a player like London, and then a plus piece like RJ Harvey. I think this is good. Hey, what's up, James? What's up, Go AZ Cards? My friend Charles, how we doing, brother? Dustin Stone, thanks for being here. Hope you're having a great Tuesday night. Shout out again to Andrew. We got Rav80 in the chat. What's up? What's up? How we doing, fellas? Let me catch up with y'all. Let me know in the chat. Did you win your most important matchup in week 8? I lost in my home league, so I'm pretty sad. 2-6. It's all the injuries I'm blaming. I had CeeDee Lamb out for so long. I still have Bucky Irving out. What are you going to do? Lions defense schedule rest of season is pretty tough. Probably would go Rams or Pats over them. Yeah. Listen to what Hartman's saying. The dude is pretty in tune with the defenses. And I remember, so when Hartman and I were drafting our high stakes FFPC Big Gorilla team back in June, which maybe next year we wait until August. But at the same time, we do have Rashee Rice and Gadsden on that team, and it's tight end premium famously. So not bad. And we had Keenan Allen. So we had Scattaboo RIP. So I won't say it anymore. It's enough. We've made the point. We're gonna miss Scattaboo. But yeah, Hartman has some good intel on defensive matchups. So definitely listen to what he's saying. Oh, appreciate you, brother. Hey, and he comes through with the DM. Hell yeah. Let's go. Okay. I'll make the stream later tonight for tomorrow, and I'll put together a fun game for us. If you didn't already hear, if you weren't here earlier, tomorrow night in the Fantasy Football Garage, our typical Wednesday show, we rotate channels. Last week, Hartman let us dual stream. We're gonna dual stream it from here on out because I think it just makes sense. I just didn't really know how to do that, but now we know how to do it. Last week we home based it from Hartman's channel. Huhames and I and Hartman every Wednesday night about this time, 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. We're gonna preview everything main slate for week 9. We're going to draft some battle royales. Fuck, I just remembered. I lost the bet. We're going to draft some dog bowl qualifiers. We're going to talk ball. We'll do everything with the chat. We always do, answering questions, sit starts, all that good stuff. If you guys weren't here last week, happy National Tight End freaking day. Huhames, and it was originally Huhames. He said, George Kittle is going to score a touchdown against the Texans defense this Sunday. And I said, you know what? I'm not buying into the National Tight Ends Day hype. I don't care that he's done it every National Tight Ends Day that's ever existed. George Kittle has scored a touchdown. I'm going to take the under 0.5 touchdowns. We made a Battle Royale bet, a $7 bet, or whatever it is, getting the Battle Royale these days. It's about $7, I think. Hartman says, wait, can I get on this? And I said, hell yeah. Easy money. Easy game. Lightweight, baby. What do you know? George Kittle makes a miraculous reception in the end zone. They kind of forced it to him, I will say that. Against the Texans. It's not like the 49ers put up that many points against the Texans. I mean, Texans stout defense. 49ers put up 15 points. One of those was a touchdown to George Kittle. So rest in peace to my winning streak of not losing any board bets this year. Okay, enough about that though. But yeah, tune in tomorrow. We'll make some more fun bets. I'll pay out. We'll draft some teams on my account. What are you gonna do? You can't. I've learned my lesson. You never go against National Tight End Day, and that's just fantasy. That's just a fact of life. Oh, and look, they both What's up, Nunez? How we doing, brother? They're both piping up in the chat. Let's see what they're doing. June draft was definitely not the move, but we got hella unlucky. Yeah, we did. We did. Brock Bowers injury screwed us. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You got to risk it to get the biscuit, right? The risk, the reward. We'll do better next year. There's still a chance, but there's not much of a chance. But we'll get back to it next year, you know. Easy money, says Who Hames. God damn it. Talking shit. All right, let's catch up with y'all. Boom. The Schmitty. How we doing, brother? Bam Knight or Tajay Spears? Give me Tajay Spears. I think is kind of looking fun. Do you think I should pick up Henderson? I think we're all kind of against it right now. Is what everyone sounds like. Yeah, geez, bud. 2-6, bro. I'm getting stomped in my home league. I've had the injuries with CeeDee Lamb. I've had the injuries with Bucky. It's just I start Rashard Smith. He does nothing. I can't catch a break. But you know, just as fast as I go 2-6, I could easily turn that around and go 8-8, and then I'm in, or not 8-8 because I guess it's only 14 weeks. But yeah, essentially I need to win out. So that's where I'm at. But you know, to make the playoffs, I think I could make the playoffs 7-7. But yeah, I got to win a lot of games. Not looking good. I'm putting in a fab bid to get Tyler Shuck as my super flex QB this week. So that's where I'm at. It's rough. James says, is it worth getting Tracy Jr.? I think it can be. I was kind of describing him going forward as like a best case scenario. He's like a 75% Cam Scattaboo, who was a borderline RB1 every week, startable for sure. So Tracy, low end RB2, I think. Go Easy Cards. How we doing, brother? Last 2 years taught me stud running back is required, and the Cardinals still suck. These things are both true. I would 100% agree. Dustin Stone, thoughts on this trade? Half PPR, Cook and Brian Thomas Jr. He's not going anywhere. He's staying here in Jacksonville. Or Sutton, okay, for JSN and Genty. I want the JSN and Genty side, I think, right? To me, JSN, the best wide receiver in the trade. Cook, the best running back in the trade, but Genty's pretty nice too. Let's look at Cook. I mean, he's one of the top running backs. He's got a really consistent, high-scoring ceiling. He just had his best game of the year with 33.6 fantasy points. He got 0.96 fantasy points per touch on 138 touches, the 7 total touchdowns, averaging almost 20 points a game. Out of the 7 games he's played, 3 of those, he's put up more than 20 points. The dude's a killer. 5 out of 7, he's putting up 20 plus points. So James Cook, knowing all that, Jason's still very good. But how much do you drop down to go to Ashton Genty? The ceiling is still there. You lose a lot of the floor and you lose a lot of the consistency. I will say that. So let me think more about this. Can we get rid of Cook and feel good moving forward with Genty? It's kind of it's a tier down, for sure, a tier down without a doubt, right? That's a tier down. Cook's killing it. Even though Genty's getting a lot of touches, his efficiency's been down. The offensive line's bad. The offense is bad. Does moving from Cook and BTJ or Sutton to JSN and Genty make it worth it? I know JSN's killing it, though. Sutton is kind of fine, and BTJ, we hope, is better days. What do you guys think in the chat? I think I would have traditionally been cool with going JSN and Genty up until pretty recently this season. I think Cook is like a piece you want. So I kind of want the best player in the trade. And isn't that Cook right now? Is it Cook? Let's just pull this up. We'll pull up look at the recent weeks for wide receivers. We'll do 4 to 8. I know JSN was on a bye, but we're going to do fantasy points per game. Yeah, he's about 20.7. So I guess you would say JSN is the best player in the trade. So JSN over Cook. It's really close. This is tough. What do you guys think? I'm on the fence. I might want to keep Cook, but if you can get JSN, it seems like it also could be worth it. It all depends on team context. Like You say you're getting rid of either BTJ or Sutton. You're upgrading to JSN. I think that's definitely an upgrade in both cases. But then the slight down, or not the slight downgrade, the actual downgrade from Cook to Genty. You're obviously starting Cook right now. You're also probably starting one of Sutton or BTJ every week, if not both. And then you would probably have to start both JSN and Genty. So it's pretty close, I think. It's pretty close. Great question, Dustin. We got Splash Zone in the chat. What's up, brother? James, how we doing? Andrew says, back with another trade. He traded Achane, Sutton, and Charbonnet for Puka and McLaurin. I like that. I think that's fine. I like getting Puka, so I'm in that side. I'm a little bit afraid of the Dolphins. They're up and down. Sutton's good. He's been good. Charbonnet, fine. Not so exciting. McLaurin, fine. Kind of dealing with the injury. He's been tough. But you get Puka. And so like this version of it, we get Puka and McLaurin versus the other version. I think, yeah, essentially you're giving up Achane to get Puka, which I like. Because you need some wide receiver help. McLaurin can be nice. Hopefully he comes back stronger. I think it's fine. Matt says, I'm hoping that's my best trade of this season right there. Let's go. Rav80, how we doing, brother? Says, my wide receivers are on IR. Yeah. Oof, tough. That's a heavy hitters right there. Hill, Evans, Neighbors. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Bucky, yikes. White, nice. Monty, nice. Aaron Jones, yikes. Tight end, Kittle. He's back. He's back, baby. Wide receivers, Pittman, nice. Dobbs, I like it. J-Mo, Jennings, Pearsall, Franklin, nice. Need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex, full PPR. So for this week, I mean, right, you're going to do McCaffrey. You got Bucky and White on a bye. You're going to do Monty. And then for tight end, you got Kittle. For wide receivers, you're going to go Pittman. You're going to probably go either Dobbs or Franklin at this point. And then we got to see, for your flex, Pearsall's been out. Z play. Jennings has been disappointing. J-Mo's been pretty disappointing. Did J-Mo do anything in week? He was on a bye in week 8. So I would probably slightly into flexing J-Mo just because the upside. What do I think on Rice rest of season? We love Rashee Rice around here. I mean, the dude has been a killer since he's gotten back, right? Let's look at weeks 7 and 8 for the wide receivers. In fantasy points per game, it's A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, who played one of those games. So that didn't, and so did Brown. So that not the best indicator there. But of people who have played 2 games, you have Jamar Chase and then Rashee Rice. And Rashee Rice is falling right into line with the season-long kind of per game we've seen from guys like JSN, some of these highest scoring, Puka, some of the best scores we've seen. So Rice rest of season, like we were saying this for months now, like waiting for him to come back. Top 3 wide receiver overall rest of season. Do you think Rice and Lamb is fair offer for Bijan? I would personally rather have Rice and Lamb than Bijan. I think you're going to have... I think giving up Rice and Lamb is too much for Bijan because there's more risk in having one player with Bijan that he gets injured versus you have Rice and Lamb. You got 2 pieces. And both Rice and Lamb are so close in value to Bijan already. Like Lamb, obviously a little bit behind. Rice, pretty close. So like the combined Rice and Lamb is worth more than Bijan. In my opinion, I would think just having 2 startable players. The replacement value of what you'd have to start over those 2 starters. Yes, you get Bijan. Maybe you get a slight. Let's just assume Bijan's worth 1 more point a week than Rice on average, maybe even 2. But the tier down you have to do from CeeDee Lamb to get like nothing, pulling someone off your bench, unless you're just stacked already. I don't even know how that would. I don't think you can make up that value. The drop from CeeDee Lamb to whoever else would probably be more than 2 points Be closer to like 4 or 5 points off the top of my head. Yeah, it's too much, right? If you just want Bijan, I would just offer less. I think you could offer CeeDee Lamb plus. Hold on to Rice. Nunes says, should I trade Derrick Henry for Alvin Kamara? No, I wouldn't do that. I'm avoiding Alvin Kamara rest of season. Teteroy McMillan. Oh, you get both Derrick Henry for Alvin Kamara and Teteroy McMillan? Okay, sorry, I misread that. I'm not crazy about Derrick Henry, but let's filter back to week 8 because recency matters, right? Derrick Henry puts up 71 total yards, doesn't catch a ball, 2 touchdowns, 0.9 fantasy points per touch, 21 total touches, 19.1 fantasy points. Kamara's not going to do that. Kamara's just not getting it done. Kamara goes 8 touches, 45 yards, 0.69 fantasy points per touch, where he's been all year. T-Mac, I'm going to look back across the last 3 weeks and look at what T-Mac's been doing just here from a fantasy points per game. 11.5. It's honestly, 2 touchdowns, but 161 yards across 3 games. That's fine. Top 24 receiver. It's not that good. It's not that convincing. I honestly think you can replace Teteroy McMillan better than you can replace Derrick Henry with Kamara. So I would say no on that one. Because look, you've got decent wide receivers. I like JSN, Pickens, Jordan Addison. I freaking love that. And if you picked up Christian Watson, you're one step ahead of the game. Your running backs are going to be fine with Derrick Henry, Jordan Mason, Etienne. Between those 3 guys, you'll be covered. Drafted Bijan first last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, it's a good call. Bijan's a pretty decent bet, pretty safe call. We know he's a stud. I think rest of season, I view Bijan as probably RB3 in my mind. Behind, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. And then I think Christian McCaffrey slightly over Bijan. Bijan's more efficient. McCaffrey is getting much more volume. Falcons are run heavy. They put their blocking tight end in motion. I'd stay away this year. Yeah. Shout out to Hartman. Shout out to Who Hames. Are we starting Brashard Smith now that Pacheco's out? Bro, I'm dropping Brashard Smith, even with Pacheco out. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm playing it all wrong. I start Brashard Smith last week. Does nothing for me. Maybe he goes off next week and I'm just an idiot. I can't time it right. But it's Kareem Hunt right now. Kareem Hunt's their guy. Kahneman really just wanted to play some BRs. That's the only reason you'd bet against Kittle on the day he created. Yeah, I was long conning you, Hartman. This is the long game. I've just been itching to draft some BRs and then share the profits on my own dime. Or you know what it is? I just know that I can't win these BRs on my own, so I'm begging Hartman and Who Hames for their help so I can draft a BR that actually has a chance of winning. That's actually my long con here. Captain Moistbeard says, start 2. Ken, Walker, JCM, or Brashard. Why you got to do that to me? Full PPR. Why you got to do that to me? I mean, obviously we're going Ken Walker, right? Did I miss something? Is Ken Walker dead? Did he break a leg? He's been pretty inefficient this year. He's only got 3 touchdowns. He's coming off the bye. The matchup this week, we looked at it. The Seahawks are playing Sunday Night Football at Washington. Give me Ken Walker. Bill against Seattle or Brashard Smith against Buffalo. Buffalo's a team you can run against. And, I mean, what are we going to do? Start Brashard Smith just because Pacheco's out? where Rashard Smith sucked last week, and you can't expect to know how to use him, when to use him. I mean, Bill being underutilized. I'll make a caveat. If Jaden Daniels is back, go Bill. If no Jaden Daniels, I guess go Rashard Smith. I thought this was a joke question at first because it's obviously Ken Walker in my mind, but it's actually between Jason and Rashard, it's pretty tough. And in full PPR, that makes me slightly lean more to Rashard, but he just burned me, so I'm pretty burned right now on Rashard Smith. What's up, Splash? How we doing, brother? Baker on bye this week for me. Yeah, me too. In my home league, I got Baker and Fields on bye. Super flex. I'm trying to start Tyler Shuck if I can pick him up. I have Brock Purdy if he ends up being out. Which QB do I sign? Yeah, let's see what your options are. Okay, easy money. The answer in my mind is Tua. We just saw the Tua bounce back game. I'm thinking fantasy points per game is going to be close between Tua and Lawrence. Lawrence at 18.4 in his last 2 games. Let's get a bigger sample size. Let's go week 4 to week 8. I think it's plenty. It's enough sample size, but it's plenty of games to understand kind of what we should expect. Trevor Lawrence, 18.9. Okay, I'm starting to lean there, I guess. I know Tua had that 0-point week, so that's really tanking him. He's at 14.8. If we look at just the last, Tua had a really bad week. It was those 2 weeks. It was in week 7, Tua had a terrible week. So let's go matchup dependent on this one. And to me, it's either Tua or Trevor Lawrence. And I'm worried about Purdy coming back from the injury, but I feel like when he does come back, he should be instantly startable. Jacksonville at Las Vegas, a big favorite, minus 3.5 on the road, 44.5 over under, kind of low. It's kind of normal, middle of the pack, kind of low. For Tua and the Dolphins, they are playing the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday. So in 2 days, right? Ravens are like a big favorite. That's kind of crazy. Is that right? Ravens? Oh, it's because Lamar's back. No shit. Ravens minus 8.5, over under 51.5. So it's still implied that Miami, I think, scores more than the Jaguars. Jaguars are implied to score like what, 22, 23 points, something like that. And then Miami's expected to score like 21. So I guess it's pretty close, like 21 points. So it's pretty close. Miami's at home Thursday night. You never know what you're going to get. Tua did have a good game against the Falcons, which is a pretty good defense. Only 205 passing yards, but it was how he got it done with 4 touchdowns, only sacked 1 time against the Falcons who've been sacking everybody. Good defense. Let's look at the last game that Trevor Lawrence played. It's been a couple of weeks, so Trevor Lawrence against the Rams, tough. The Seahawks, tough. It's not going to look good against the Rams. But no, he got it done. I mean, he gets 296 yards. Just didn't get the touchdowns, which is where he was lacking. Stafford lit it up with 5 touchdowns. Lawrence can move on the ground a little bit, probably more than Tua. So let's just go ahead and lean into it. Let's go Trevor Lawrence and just can't trust Tua. Even though the Baltimore Ravens, let's go back to week 7 for QBs. Like, the Ravens are a good matchup for opposing QBs. And the Raiders were on bye this week, so we can't really see that here. But I think the Raiders are a fine matchup for opposing QBs. I wouldn't be that surprised as a plus matchup. So Trevor Lawrence slight lean over Tua is kind of where I'm at on that one. Yo, what's up? BXLD. Kendall Jazz, how we doing? Landy, what's up, brother? How we doing? And Michael, what's up? Ezekiel, yo. Okay. I'm going to make my way down to the chat. I'm going to catch up with y'all. Thanks for being here. Make sure you've liked the stream. And tune in tomorrow night. We're going to be live again with Who Hames and Hartman. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, for some reason you're watching this, you haven't said what up in the chat yet, you're just watching, come in the chat, say what up. Let me know how you're doing this week for fantasy, waivers, sit starts, rest of season outlook, trades. Let's help each other out. Sub to my channel. It's free. I'll give you free advice. And the chat is also very sharp, so they can help us out. Yeah. The Hunt usage. James says, this week, should I play my flex? Jones Sr. or Woody? Thanks so much. You know what? I'm kind of off Jones. I know the matchup with the Lions is interesting. Texans at Denver is pretty tough. Maybe it's recency bias. Big yardage though. We haven't seen Jones put up that kind of yardage this season. I'm gonna lean to Woody Marks. And if we look at what we should expect from Woody Marks, we should expect about 0.89 fantasy points per touch. So if he's getting 12, 15 touches, he's a good flex play. He'll put up, anywhere to 10 to kind of 14 points we should expect. For Aaron Jones Sr., he's only averaging, he's been missing a lot of games, but in a smaller sample size, he's averaging 0.09 fantasy points per touch. But he's only getting like 7-8 touches per game. So we should only expect like 6 to 8 points a game. Honestly. So that's tough. That is tough. Let's go Woody Marks. Cook, Sutton if you need running back. JSN, Genty if you need wide receiver. That's fair. Kind of what I'm thinking too. It's all in this week versus Buffalo, and then bye. And Pacheco might be back after that. Yeah, for Bashard, right. It's almost always running back over wide receiver if the players are similar value because of the positional scarcity. Cook and JSN. Sharpman, dropping some knowledge. That's kind of how I felt about it. Even when I uncovered, looking at the data, that JSN has been technically scoring more fantasy points per game than Cook recently. I still kind of favor Cook because of the scarcity and just like the touchdown potential. Will Taysom Hill have a fantasy relevant week? I think he will, Charles. I think in my dynasty leagues, I've got some in redraft that I'm not picking up Taysom Hill. It's just too hard to know when to start him. I have a dynasty best ball league where I own Taysom Hill, and it's kind of funny, but I might drop him there too. It's hard to predict, but yeah, eventually he will score like 2 touchdowns or something with like 6 yards total. Henry was a very good schedule rest of the season. Oh yeah, that's also a sharp reason to be in on Henry. Dobbins too. Oh yeah, appreciate you, Nunez. Dobbins' schedule's looking good the rest of the season. I'm not fully aware of the rest of the season schedule for the Broncos, but I think I'm leaning to being more in on the Harvey side than Dobbins rest of season, just because if they play anywhere near the same amount of snaps, Harvey is so much more efficient per touch. Per touch, Harvey's averaging 1.14 fantasy points, and Dobbins with a larger sample size, but he's way down at 0.74. So Dobbins only 4 touchdowns. Harvey already has 5. Dobbins hasn't scored 17 points in a single game this season. His best week was 15 points. He's averaging 12 points. Harvey, on the other hand, he's only averaging 9 points, but his best week is 23.6. And he had another game before that where he had 17 points. So Harvey's just the higher ceiling. Dobbins, it's an okay floor, but I've been pretty out on Dobbins. I was starting to be more out on Saquon, but he had a week in week 8, so he redeemed himself a little bit. Maybe Saquon can turn it around. Should I pound another beer before bed? My shoulder has a Q tag. Green light. Good call. Well, I mean, it depends. Over, under 4. If it's the 4th beer, treat yourself. If it's the 5th beer, save it for tomorrow. I could have also said over, under 3, but I was feeling generous. Landy says, hey man, traded. What's up, Landy? How we doing? Traded Henry, Egbuka, and Swift. Okay, Egbuka's been kind of hampered since the injury. Henry just had another big week after that week one performance that was impressive. Swift has been good for Warren. Oh, and Warren. Geez, and Warren. There's a lot going on. 3 running backs. For Bijan, okay, best player in the trade. I like that. JSN, second best player in the trade. I like this. Debo and Walker. Okay, I like this because you can bench Walker, start Debo, JSN, and Bijan every week. You're essentially upgrading from Henry to Bijan, from Egbuka to JSN, slight upgrade, and from Swift to Debo, which is kind of lateral. And then Warren would have been on your bench anyways or whatever. And then Walker's now on your bench. You got Daniels, Gibbs, oh my gosh, you have Gibbs and Bijan. Dude, you're going to win this league. I don't know what your record is, Landy, but I like this team. I like that trade for you. I think you're doing it right. We need Daniels to come back, right? And we're feeling good. Yeah, Hampton out hurts, but you've replaced it well if you got Gibbs and Bijan. I might, and then is that Garrett Wilson also out? So Hunter's a nice piece. I might try to move Dobbins if I'm you. I don't know what you can move him for, but if you can package like Dobbins and Ken Walker and get one more really nice wide receiver, I think that's the best thing for your team. I'm cool with Wilson and Hunter though, but just the question tag on Wilson, I guess. And I'm just kind of out on Dobbins, and I don't think Walker helps your team either. But and you've got Deebo, London, and JSN, but it's like London's out right now, and so I'm just with Wilson out, with London out. You might want some more firepower at wide receivers. All I'm thinking. Did I save my 5-3 season? Oh, you're 5-3, bro. You're killing it. You're gonna win the rest of the way out. Let us know how that team does. I bench Bill. KC Buffalo going for 60 points. Okay, this is another good point from Huhames, Chiefs fan, but also just a ball knower. We should expect the Chiefs Buffalo game. I'm gonna have to adjust my waiver. I'm gonna have to not drop Brashard Smith in after all in my home league, but I can't afford to lose. It's a 51.5 over under. It's definitely going to be the over, right? Shootout game. KC Buffalo going to be fun. Buffalo's a run funnel defense. Their pass defense is strong, so there's another reason. But Brashard Smith kind of gets it done through the air. Pacheco hurt. Yeah, I guess so. I guess Pacheco's hurt enough, makes a big enough difference. So I guess so. Yo, what's up, BXLD? How we doing, my friend? Hey, bro. First time in the stream. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah. I thought you looked familiar, but first time. Nice. Wanting your opinion on a trade. All right, what do we got? He says, a trade. I get rid of Brian Thomas Jr. and Woody Marks for Nico Collins. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. and Nico Collins have been equally disappointing. Let's go back and look, over the last 5 weeks on a per game basis at wide receiver. Where do we find Brian Thomas? Brian, show me brain. Okay. So should I trade Brian Thomas Jr. and Woody Marks for Nico Collins? Over like the last 5 weeks, across 4 games, Brian Thomas averaging 10.4 fantasy points per game. Pretty underwhelming. He's getting it done. 250 yards is not terrible, but he's really lacking touchdowns, only 1 touchdown. On the other hand, Nico Collins has been averaging 9.5 fantasy points per game, 158 yards, only 1 touchdown. I mean, just Brian Thomas Jr. coming in at wide receiver 31, Nico Collins at wide receiver 36 on a per game basis over the last 5 games. If we, bring that window in a little bit, last 3 games, it's Brian Thomas hadn't played as much because he's had the bye, but let's see if it makes any difference at all. Nico is not even registering. He's also injured, so that's Brian Thomas, wide receiver 34. So this is tough. I'm going to say hold on to Brian Thomas Jr. and Woody Marks. And it's been tough for Nico Collins. It's been tough. I don't think we want to. Kindle Jazz. Hey, how we doing? Good to see you here. Thanks for coming by. I need a week 8 and rest of season RB2. And best on waivers is Bam Knight, Kareem Hunt, and Samaje Perine. Okay, so we're looking forward to this week. You got Bam Knight, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine. Any of them viable past 2 weeks from now? Yes. So I prefer Kareem Hunt. He's been viable all season, essentially. He actually is good. He's getting high-value touches, goal line touches on one of the best offenses. A really good offense. Kareem Hunt is averaging 0.92 fantasy points per game. He's got 70 total touches. He's got 5 total touchdowns. He's put up 18.2 fantasy points, his highest scoring week. He just had another good week in week 8. There's a low floor with Kareem Hunt, but it's respectable what he can do, his ceiling. And Pacheco's hurt. They have a bye in week 10, so after this week, they'll be on bye in week 10. But So you won't be able to start him in week 10, 2 weeks from now, but I think he still has value going forward. Give me Kareem Hunt, and to me, it's not even that close out of this group. Bam Knight's interesting. Let's go find him. Michael Carter's still going to be involved. They cut him. They re-signed him. Just a little bit of moving the numbers, some salary magic. But Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight, 0.84 fantasy points per touch. Only 34 touches he's had across his 5 games. Not that impressive. Best week, 11.9. Not that impressive. Not that good. Low floor, low ceiling. The Cardinals, not a good team. I'm not super convinced. But he's better than nothing. But he's not better than Kareem Hunt. Samaje Perine coming in at a 0.78 fantasy points per touch on 38 touches. I think he's more of a one-hit wonder. We know Perine's been good in his career. He's 30. He's at the end of his career. He can have some spike weeks. It's going to be impossible to predict. Cincinnati offense, impossible to predict. I don't think Joe Flacco. I think he turns into a pumpkin at some point, but he's slinging it right now, and he's got the weapons too. So give me Kareem Hunt, and then a teardrop to Bam Knight, and then a bigger teardrop to Samaje Perine. Yeah, I'd hold, says Hugh Hames. I think that's smart. Yo, what's up? 2 mules in a cart. How we doing, brother? Good to see you. Matt says, in your rankings Excel sheet, how do Kyren, Javonte, and Harvey stack up to one another? I'm looking to buy one. Hell yeah, I love this question. Yeah, let's pull out the trusty Excel Google sheet. I've got Kyren, Javonte, and Henry. So Javonte is clearly the best. Let's compare. We'll compare all 3 though, and we got Javonte and Henry. So this is weeks. It says 1 to 5, but I just stopped updating the title. This is weeks 1 to 8. Javonte Williams is the 3rd best running back in fantasy in terms of his ceiling consistency. And that's how this is ranked. This is how this is sorted. Not by average points per game, because he's at 17.1, which is lower than Jahmyr Gibbs, lower than Josh Jacobs, lower than James Cook. But Javonte Williams has played 8 games, and in 6 of those 8 games, he scored 20 points. He scored at least 17 points. In 2 of those 8 games, he scored at least 20 points, and he had 26.4 points as his highest scoring game. He's averaging 0.92 fantasy points per touch, averaging 18.5 fantasy points touches per game. So this dude is the definition of super consistency, high floor, high ceiling play, and a good high-powered offense. Very fun for fantasy. But his elite ceiling, it actually is very good, but it's not the highest tier. And that's why he's not my number 3 running back overall, but he is like the 3rd most consistent for high scoring. Let's go down to Derrick Henry. Kyren Williams. Let's go to Kyren Williams. He's right next to Derrick Henry. This is a perfect chance to look at both of them at the same time. So they've both played 7 games, Derrick Henry and Kyren Williams. They've both scored 17 fantasy points or more in 2 of those 7 games. They've both scored more than 20 fantasy points in 1 of those 7 games. Kyren Williams did it with 2 receiving touchdowns a couple weeks ago. He had 27.1 fantasy points. Derrick Henry did it in week 1 with 28.7 fantasy points. He also had a big game last week with 2 touchdowns in week 8. Kyren Williams, though, he's scored 14 or more fantasy points 57% of the time, or 4 out of those 7 games. And Derrick's done it 3 out of those 7 games. So a little bit less consistent in the mid-range. They both have a moderate floor, where in 4 out of their 7 games, they've scored at least 10 fantasy points. I think I said 14 fantasy points here. I meant 13, but it's whatever. Yeah. So more than 10, more than 13. For Kyren, 0.79 fantasy points per touch. For Derrick Henry, 0.79 fantasy points per touch. Hugh Hames just made a comment, though. Derrick Henry's got a nice rest of season schedule. That counts for something. He's getting Lamar Jackson back. He's been missing Lamar Jackson this whole time. Matthew Stafford's having a season in line with not his career best, but pretty close to his career best. It's in line with his upper tier of seasons for his whole career, Matthew Stafford. Kyren Williams is still just doing well, but not incredible. Derrick Henry without Lamar Jackson a lot of this season is respectable, but not in line with his best seasons, but still, very similar to Kyren Williams. So what's the difference here? Going forward, Derrick Henry's schedule should be pretty nice. He gets Lamar Jackson back. The offense scores more. They have more opportunities to score. He's already got 6 touchdowns. Kyron's got 5. He's got slightly fewer touches, 16.3 fantasy point touches per game. Not fantasy, 16.3 touches per game. Kyren Williams, 18.1 touches per game. Rest of season, give me Derrick Henry over Kyren Williams. I think Derrick Henry just has Lamar Jackson coming back, a better schedule. He is potentially just going to have more opportunities to score and less split work compared to Kyren with Corum coming on, maybe even Jarquez Hunter, probably not, but at least Corum. The only thing about Derrick Henry, he can get game scripted out where when the Ravens are playing from behind, and they are a lot of times with their terrible defense, that they lean on Justice Hill in the passing game, and he's sharing a lot of snaps. But I think rest of season, I want to target Derrick Henry. Kyren Williams, unless you can get him for cheap, probably not a target. Javonte Williams is a smash, a definite target, and definitely someone that if you can get for the right price can pay off huge for your fantasy team. Great question, Matt. That was fun. Fun looking into it. Hope that helped. What do we got? Michael says now with Scadaboo out and Barkley on a bye, I have to start Kenneth Walker. Do I start him or pick up Knight and start him? I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. I don't trust the Cardinals. I think the floor and the ceiling for Bam Knight they're both lower than the floor and ceiling for Kenneth Walker. Ezekiel, what's up, brother? Says, should I drop Ridley or should I hold? I'm cool dropping him in my home league. He's been on waivers for over a week now. So the injury, the Titans offense, it's weird. It's sad. But if you're in a shallower league, a 10-team league, I think Ridley can be dropped. It doesn't feel good, but maybe we should have seen this coming. He was getting drafted in like the 5th round, maybe 6th round in fantasy drafts. A little bit overvalued, I think, looking back on it. But we thought Cam Ward could be a guy, and the whole deep ball connection. Cam Ward, a good deep ball passer, allegedly. Just, I think the Titans are pretty disappointing. Hartman with some great fantasy advice there for Charles. Hey, thanks, James. Appreciate you being here. Yeah. My doctor agrees. There we go. 4th. That was 4 hours ago. Okay. All right. We're on different wavelengths. 4th, 4 hours ago. I would be asleep. Landy, I hope you at least bought that dude dinner before you effed him. No lube like that. Savage. Yeah. We love that trade, Landy, is I think what Hartman's trying to say here. So kindly. Charles, you're a Cards fan. Beer is deserved. Yeah. Tough rip. Required at this point. Would I rather have Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter for the fantasy playoffs? Honestly, I'm thinking Travis Hunter. I don't know if it was so crazy to think that he could replace Brian Thomas Jr. What's going on? Is it just like the residual wrist injury fallout? There's got to be something going on. This is not the Brian Thomas Jr. we know and love. Can we get Brian Thomas Jr. traded to the 49ers so he can play with Mac Jones a little bit? Is that the cure that we're missing out on? The difference between last year and this year? What's going on? Trevor Lawrence isn't even having that bad of a season. The Jaguars aren't even that bad of a team. Like, what does it take to get Brian Thomas Jr.? And I could say the same thing for Nico Collins. Like, what is going on? It blows my mind. I mean, who could have seen this coming? The fall off for both Nico and Brian Thomas Jr., considering we talked about it earlier. 22 people watching, only 12 likes on the stream. We can do better than that. Help me out. Make sure you like the stream. Vote in the poll. I am going to... I thought I had a poll. Is there no poll? I don't see a poll. Oh, there it is. No, it's not. You know what? I thought I had a poll this whole time. Maybe I typed it in and I never sent it. No idea. No, I have no idea. If you see a poll, vote in it. I don't even see a poll from my end. So just like the stream. Help me out. Like the stream. Let's get it up to, we can do 20 likes. Easy. We can do 20 likes. But I appreciate y'all being here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed. Come say what up in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions for week 9. I'll help you out. Subscribing is free, and I'm giving out free advice. So is it good advice? You can be the judge. You guys in the chat, come let me know too. If I say something stupid, definitely let me know in the chat, because I'm trying to get better every day. Have some fun, talk some ball, and yeah, that's what we're all about here. Good vibes. Looking forward to week 9. I'm in win now, must win mode. My home league. It is do or die. What do you think, Charles? Would you rather have BTJ or Hunter for the playoffs? Yes, Matt. I'm sure I have to catch up, but yeah, we talked about it, right? 2 Mules says second half drafts on drafters are wild right now. Building a super roster is impossible. If anyone can do it, you can do it. 2 Mules. I believe in you. What are you seeing with like the crazy, like different second half draft ADPs right now? Like what's different than you would expect? Is it more kind of injury driven? Are people hyper reacting to week outcomes? Like, oh, now Harvey's worth so much more than he was 1 week ago, kind of things like that. Ooh, give someone an ADP in dog bowl. Yeah, early week dog bowls. Maybe it's time to get him in. It's got to be Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant. Yeah, Matt. So I think you saw, Matt, I was saying Javonte, clearly the best, a big buy. Then I would say Derrick Henry, the next tier down, and Kyron Williams in a similar tier, but I think rest of season, we like Derrick Henry a little bit better. Lamar Jackson coming back. Yo, what's up, Titan Style? Good to see you, my man. Thoughts on trading away Ladd and Kamara for Pickens and Swift? Give me Pickens and Swift. Don't have to think twice. Easy answer. To me, Pickens is in line with Ladd, what we should expect going forward. And he's been performing better year to date. But situation, what's going on, all that, yada, yada. Both good offenses, good QBs, healthy target competition on both sides. Pickens and Ladd, I'm pretty close rest of season. I like Swift over Kamara, and it's not even close. Swift having a hell of a season with the Bears. 0.87 fantasy points per touch, 17 touches per game, already has 5 touchdowns, averaging 15 points a game. His high is 24.5. He did that a couple weeks ago. Super high floor and a decent ceiling too. He's scoring, 2 out of his 5 games, he's put up 20 or more points. That's better than Achane, or in line with Achane. Better than in line with Gibbs, in line with Jacobs, technically in line with Javonte Williams, who's played 1 more game, just like Achane has. Better than Judkins, better than Kyron, better than Derrick Henry, which is hard to believe. I think Derrick Henry put up 19 points this last week, so he's just sub threshold for that 20-point cutoff that I look at, but still better, way better than ETN in terms of consistently scoring high fantasy points. Kamara, we'd have to scroll down quite a bit to get to the Kamara. We're scrolling, and stop. Kamara way down here. His best fantasy week was 13 points. He's averaging 9 points. End of story. So if you can ditch Kamara, I highly recommend doing it. Let's get rid of Kamara. Let's level up to Swift. The Javonte and jinx him. Yeah, I've been loyal since he came into the league. He's finally healthy. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think so. 2 Mules. I thought that Javonte would have been fully healthy last year playing with the Broncos, and the whole thing with the Broncos being one of the best rushing offensive lines, and like how could it get better for him on the Cowboys? But man, I was wrong. I wish I had drafted a lot more Javonte. I only have a little bit. I had like in best ball, I want to say I was like around 4% Javonte, or like some low single digit number. Obviously not enough. And there's still a long way to go in best ball. The best ball season, we're still halfway through the first of 4 legs. So we're 1/8 through the best ball season, considering weeks 15 and 16. And all that matters is week 17. So you're totally right about this. But no, Javonte Williams has been him this year. It's Kyle Monangai versus Cincy. LOL, Mono guy. I did a second half draft and got Puka into the first because of injury. That's pretty smart. Made the trade last night. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, I like that for you. I was about to drop Kamara. Oh, and this dude sent me this offer. Bro. That's so funny, but like that's just how it happens sometimes. Sometimes you got to throw out feelers before you drop someone with a name, value, and brand recognition like Alvin Kamara. That's for sure. Yo, what's up, Dahir? How we doing, brother? Thanks for saying what up in the chat. Let's see what you got. I traded away Pittman and ETN. Oh, trade away Pittman for ETN and Tracy. I think that's fine. I think Pittman to ETN to me is pretty lateral, pretty, totally works. And if you need running back help, then like ETN can help you out, I think. A good time to buy him after his bye week because people kind of forget. And then Tracy, which I think is totally fine. Low end RB2 rest of season, has some flex appeal. I have good wide receivers and no running backs besides Saquon, who's on a bye. Hell yeah, brother. You did good. I think ETN is a safe target. What I've been saying about ETN all season, he hasn't really shown any elite floor, but he's, 2 out of 7 games, he scored 17 or more fantasy points. He's got a decent floor. He's scored at least 14 or more fantasy points in 3 out of 7 games. So only averaging 12 fantasy points per game. He's put up a 19-point week, pretty safe. He's got like not the most elite ceiling, but he could get there. We saw him do it in previous seasons. He's getting a lot of touches, 16 touches per game. So I like all of that for ETN. And I was saying this earlier. I think Tyrone Tracy has the ability to be like best case scenario, like a 75% Alvin or 75% Cam Skattebo going forward. So when I look at what Cam Skattebo was doing, I think Tyrone Tracy can be like a 75% version of that for rest of season. I think he can probably put up, at least 10 to 12 fantasy points on average. I kind of would hope if he's consolidating those touches. The one thing that could go wrong is if they get Devin Singletary more involved and Tracy can't get above a 15 touch per game number, then he's never really going to get to that like 12 plus fantasy points per game range and half point PPR. So that's the only thing I'll say about Tracy, kind of the downside risk. And the Colts have been good. So Pittman is definitely worth something, but I think ETN helps. If you need running back, that helps. Should be Brian Thomas Jr., but Trevor is Brian Thomas Jr.'s kryptonite. This is so true. This is so true, Charles. Less room for optimism with less games left. Running back depth becomes scarce real quick. Yeah. For sure. I think that makes sense for the second half stuff, right? That's the thing I've been trying to sell him for ages. That's crazy. And then the last minute, and I have Hunter and Chase, so I feel good at wide receiver. Yeah, I think that'll work for you. Swift becomes my flex because I have Saquon and ETN. I think Swift is a very strong flex play. Owner ranks the 3 RBs as Javonte, Kyron, and Henry. So that's probably a target for Henry then for you. Want to offer 2 for 1. Gadsden plus 1 of Vidal, Hindi, RJ, Armon guy to try to land one of those top guys. What's your take on that approach? I like it. I'm in. What do you guys think in the chat? If you could see with Vidal, as soon as Hampton comes back, he goes to 0. But he's been good. He's been pretty good while Hampton's been out. So like he's essentially been as good as Hampton was. A little bit worse, but essentially as good since Hampton's been out. Hindi, I don't think moves the needle for the person who's giving up Henry. RJ, or I don't think Moningai moves the needle enough either. Just what I would think. If you're trying to get a fair deal, Gadsden plus RJ Harvey for Henry. Do I feel like you're giving up too much, though? I don't know. I think it's close. If you could get Javonte Williams for Gadsden and RJ Harvey, I would do that in a heartbeat. If you could get Derrick Henry for Gadsden plus Mongai or Henderson, I would do that in a heartbeat. And I think you might just not want to target Kyron. if you really need the running back help and it ends up coming to it, I would also offer Gadsden in one of Henderson or Monangai for Kyron. But if it came to Gadsden plus Vidal, there's just this like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm wrong because rest of season, maybe once Hampton comes back, I mean, they don't have a bye until week 12, the Chargers. So we don't know what's up with Hampton. It sounds pretty bad. Vidal could have some value for a long time still. So I definitely am wanting to get rid of Henderson or Monangai before I get rid of RJ Harvey, though, and then probably even Vidal. But I think if that all makes sense, let's see what you guys think. I honestly think Singletary mixes in quite a bit. I do too, Hames. They haven't been using Singletary a lot, motor, good old motor. But with Tracy, he would need to get at least 15 touches a game to be viable as a flex, low end RB2. And if he's only getting like 10 or 12, he's just not going to cut it. And if Singletary's getting 8 to 10, I don't know who else they bring in. Maybe they sign someone for practice squad or something. I'm pretty sure Eric Gray's injured. Putting a claim for Tracy, but probably won't get him. He's worth a pickup, but I think it's like I have some pessimism against Tracy, but there's some optimism too from what we saw last season. If he really consolidates that role and he ends up getting like 15 to 20 touches per game consistently, that's going to be worth 12 to 15 fantasy points and upside of he has a great week and he puts up a 20-point game. Scores 2 touchdowns kind of thing. Should I stash Bigsby since I have Saquon? I think it's premature for that. I think we saw a one-hit wonder from Bigsby, so I wouldn't pick up Bigsby yet. Obviously, if Saquon goes down, it looks like Bigsby's next in line and not Will Shipley. So there is something to that, but I don't really want to handcuff just on that fear. I want to go for ultimate upside. So I'd be trying to pick up other players' handcuffs that aren't tied to my best player. Because if your best running back, let's just say Saquon's your best running back, the condition for Bigsby to be startable is that Saquon's injured. So you still only have one startable running back. If you pick up somebody else's handcuff, the condition could be that your best running back, Saquon, is healthy and your opponent's running back's injured, and therefore your handcuff of their player or another player is starting. Now you have 2 viable running backs. So the ceiling outcome of not handcuffing your players, but handcuffing other players actually is way more meaningful than just handcuffing your own players. Handcuffing your own players is kind of a trap for limiting your ultimate upside. It's the safe play, but we're not playing for 5th place or 4th place or 3rd place. We're playing to win it all. So you got to go highest upside outcomes, risk it all, try to win it all kind of thing. In these 12 team leagues, the odds of winning in a decently competitive league, even if you're the best fantasy player, the Justin Herzigs, the top guys in any given competitive 10 or 12 team league, you're only going to win it once every 5, 8 years, that kind of range, if you're winning it twice the frequency of everyone else. So you should be going all out every year to try to maximize your chance to win. And when you come in anywhere from 6th to last place, better than coming in 3rd. If you're doing it right, if you're just, if you're going all in. If you're consistently getting 3rd, you're just unlucky. Who do you think I should get for Vidal before Hampton comes back? I don't know when Hampton comes back. They acted like they weren't ready to activate him off the IR because he's ready to come off the IR this week in week 9. And I have to read up on the coach speak and see what they're saying, but it sounds pretty bad what he's dealing with, right? What do you guys think? But what could you get for Vidal before he comes back? If you don't, this is a good thing to be in, though. If you don't absolutely need him, you can get some pretty decent value for Vidal. No one's going to give you a ton because they don't respect his name. But if someone's been paying attention, if they're really running back needy, especially with maybe these bye weeks or whatever, you should be able to get a startable flex wide receiver or really, really good tight end. Yo, what's up, GT12. What's up, Trone Force? How we doing? I'm about to stash Bigsby. I think that's fine. I'm not really stashing Bigsby yet, but if you have deep benches, drop all my fab of $71 on Tyrone Tracy. 12-man league waivers are tough. We've kind of been talking about this all night. He's definitely the hot topic, so I'll definitely try to put something out. Either on my Twitter, follow me on Twitter at FFB Garage. Link in description if you're on Twitter. I'll follow you back too. I might put something out on Twitter. I'll post maybe on a YouTube post, something about Tracy and what I think we should do. There's a lot of info out there on like how much fab to spend, how much to drop, all these things. I think it's too early in the season to go to 0 fab. If you've got 71 left, you've been holding out, but you definitely want to spend some. So here's what I would do, GT. If you really want Tracy, if you need him, if you think he can be that guy for you, and I was just trying to describe a situation like we saw last year where he's getting 15 to 20 touches per game and he's averaging 12 to 15 fantasy points per game. And maybe he has some nice games with 100 yards or 2 touchdowns and he puts up actually 20 points in a week. But I think his ceiling is capped a little bit because we think Devin Singletary could be more involved. If Tracy doesn't get 15 touches per game, if he's in the 12 touch per game range, he's just never really going to be a good start, even in the flex. But he's kind of a low end RB2 flex the rest of the season, I think, given the injury. And I think he can be like a 75% version of Cam Skattebo. I would say your fab strategy should be look at the next highest fab of someone in your league who might want Tracy. If they have more than you, if they have 80 fab and you think they're going to drop all of that, then you're just not going to win them. If there's someone who has the next highest, who might need a running back and might put in a lot of fab for him, is like at 55, put in 56. If you really want to win. No other information, going into it blind. What do I think I would spend fab on Tyrone Tracy out of my 71 remaining, given we're at week 9 and there's only so many weeks left, but I don't want to go to 0. I'd be cool with like somewhere in the 40 to 50. I think it's like aggressive. If you want to be more conservative, which it doesn't sound like you do because you're considering doing all 71, conservatively, I would say like 31 out of 71. Aggressively, I would say like 50, 55. And then if you can take advantage of the fab position of your opponents, if there's some guy with 100 fab, but he's not spending it, he never has, don't consider that. But like if there's a guy with 64 fab and you really want Tracy and you think this guy might put in a lot for him too, maybe put in 65. Or maybe you put in 64 and you force him to spend all of it and it's a tiebreaker. Maybe you spend 63 and you expect him to spend like 60 or something. Kind of think those things through. But if you don't win Tracy, I don't think it's make or break. If this is win now for you, if it's make or break, you need this player, you need a flex guy to start this week. Aggressively, I'm considering like 50, 55, I think is pretty aggressive. Devin Neal says 2 meals, 1 cart. Devin Neal, 1 year too early. I would agree. I was drafting. I had 14 or 12 or some double-digit % exposure to Devin Neal in the big board, the pre-NFL draft best ball contest this last summer. So I was following Devin Neal in college, playing for Kansas. Everyone thought he'd be pretty good. I think next year, I think you're onto something, 2 mules. Alvin Kamara, steep decline. Kendre Miller is obviously not the guy. He keeps getting injured, injury bug, can't stay healthy. So maybe it's Devin Neal next year. Maybe he needs a year to get the NFL experience, right? Yeah, what's up, Deal Me In? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Huham says, kind of sounds like they may wait until after the bye, so week 13 for Omari and Hampton, right? So that is a reason to keep Vidal, I would say. Trone says, picked up Bam Knight yesterday and traded Bam and Fannin for Debo. I love that. I like that move, especially because tight ends highly replaceable week over week. There's 20 startable tight ends. There's only 12 people in your league or 10 people in your league. Some people are benching a tight end, but there's always one available. There's always one you can get trade for cheap, and tight ends should never really command that much trade value unless they're one of the top 3 to 5 tight ends. And even then, a top 15 running back or 20 running back is going to be arguably worth twice as much. So I like this move, upgrade, Debo, nice. You got Goddard, Hunter Henry. What's the difference between one of those guys in the given week in Fantasy? Honestly, I think Goddard's having a season. So Jaden Daniels is my QB. I love that. We need him back, obviously. You got Nico, ouch. Olave, fine. Devontae, fine. Debo, good move. McLaurin, hopefully he continues to pick it up, and Travis Hunter. So you've had some struggles at wide receiver. It seems like I think this is a good move for you going forward. Nice. I like that. Probably do that G12. Drop in all 71 for Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, I mean, it's totally viable. Think Saquon more hurt than he putting on. I don't know. Yeah, not sure yet. I'll need to read more into it, but I also had forgot he was slightly injured. 47, the magic number for a fab bid. That's a pretty good one. Dealman says I'm dropping 77 for Tracy. Ooh, damn, you guys are in on Tracy. Okay. Maybe I'm just a Tracy hater. I'm still just wiping the tears away from this Sunday. Two Meal says I was comparing Monagai to Ray Rice back in February. This is interesting. Very interesting. Monagai might be a buy low if for some reason Swift's not with the team next year. I forget what the contract situation is there. I'm gonna hold Vidal for like 2 more weeks and let it get his value up. Yeah, because people aren't crazy about Vidal. I'd be surprised if someone was willing to overpay you for him or even pay you what he's worth. Yeah, the injury was just terrible. What are you gonna do? Football's a tough game. I hope we get Cam back at 90% of what he was this year to start next season, and he slowly ramps up. It would really suck if he misses parts of next year. That should be bad for his future outlook as a whole. Hate to see it. Hate for all the injuries to happen to anyone in the league, but it was going to be a fun story for Dart and Scattaboo and what that was looking like. They had beaten the Eagles, then they're rematching the Eagles, and tough. GT12 says, just checked, 9 of the 12 have over 80. Oh, man. No one spent. That's insane, GT. No one's been spending the fab. That's crazy to me. And 3 of them have 100. Yeah, the 3 guys with 100 are probably never going to spend it, or one of them is just going to drop 100 this week. And, that's pretty bad strategy in my mind. But I've had leagues where people hold 100 fab and never spend a single fab all season. And I don't know what that's about, but it's more common than you think. Looked at teams, and most could use a consistent RB2. Okay, so maybe just go all in if you think you really need the RB2. But just think you'll be at a disadvantage the rest of the season. You'll never be able to pick up any other priority waiver. What I would advise you do once you go to 0 fab, or even like 1 to 2 fab range, is a week before, you need to be churning your bench and picking up RB2s like Tank Bigsby, or like who might be available right now that we're not thinking of, Justice Hill, or if Blake Corum's for some reason available, and churning these RB2s and getting them a week before in case of injury, in case something happens, so that the only way you're going to get a decent running back rest of season is you luck into picking one up kind of week to week is sometimes what I do if I go to 0 fab, because you're never going to be able to get, if Kyron Williams goes down and Blake Corum's available, if you have 0 fab, you just can't get him. But if you stash him the week before, you'd get lucky. You never know. Would I take Garrett Wilson for Vidal if I can get that? Yeah, I want Garrett Wilson over Vidal. But at the same time, obviously Garrett Wilson's injured. I think Garrett Wilson's good. Where has Garrett Wilson been weeks 5 through 8, the last 4 weeks? I feel like he's been respectable. What did I do? Wilson? No. Jeez. Well, he's only played 2 games, so this is a lame example. Yeah, let's do weeks 4, 5, and 6. Weeks 4, 5, and 6. Garrett Wilson was the wide receiver 19 fantasy points per game, only about 12 fantasy points per game, but it was, hit or miss with Fields. I like Garrett Wilson. Obviously, Vidal's been much better than that from weeks 5, 6, 7, 8 at running back. Vidal is going to be better than that 12 points a game. Vidal is going to be at. He's only at 8 points per game, but I guess these are some games where he wasn't that involved. I need to update. Let's just do. Oh, I did 4 to 6. I meant to do 4 to 8. Let's do 5 to 8. Kind of query that. 12 points a game. So Vidal is comparable to Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson's obviously a better fantasy football player than Kamani Vidal, but it's all about opportunity at the running back position. Would I take Garrett Wilson over Vidal? Probably, right? Probably. But the reality of it is, like, could Vidal continue to outscore Wilson and be healthier? Also true. Missed the boat on Woody Marks. Yeah, me too. I wish I had more Woody Marks for sure. I had some. I had more in the big board than I did it during Best Ball Mania season. So I don't know what changed. I don't like that Garrett Wilson tends to only get points in the fourth. Yeah, it's kind of tough to trust the Jets right now as well. The Chargers are definitely a more fun team. So that points you in favor of keeping Vidal. But yeah, I guess like it also depends your positional team needs. Running backs kind of hard to come by. You might want to keep Vidal. Do we think Garrett Wilson's going to be healthy? Are they both going to play flex for you or like what? Hey, how we doing, Dustin? Good to see you, brother. What's up, man? Benson was dropped. How much fab should I give up for him? I don't know. Try to sneak him onto your team. I don't love the Cardinals. I don't love the Cardinals running backs. Kind of a bad situation to be in. Even when Benson was healthy this season, he wasn't even that good. Didn't get that many touches. Wasn't very efficient. Do we think he could be good? Can he consolidate the touches when he comes back? When is he coming back? So many question marks. I wouldn't drop too much fab in my mind. I would try to, if you can try to like spend a small amount, conservative amount, and then sneak him onto your bench, I think that would be worth it. Got Bijan, Monty Sharbs, and Devin Neal. Yeah, so Tracy would help you there, right? But he give you another flex if you're starting Charbonnet. I think Tracy rest of the season over Charbonnet. Probably fair. Charbonnet has been a little better per touch and also has kind of a capped ceiling for touches. Would you go Gadsden plus RJ for Cook, for James Cook? Yes. Yeah, I definitely would. James Cook is him. He's that guy. He has one of the highest consistent scoring ceilings, right up there with Javonte Williams. He also has an incredibly elite ceiling, one of the highest in the league, comparable to Bijan Robinson's scoring outputs, close to McCaffrey almost, better than Josh Jacobs, better than Jahmyr Gibbs. What I mean by that is James Cook in 3 out of 7 games this season has scored more than 20 fantasy points. He just put up 33.6 fantasy points in week 8. He's getting 20 touches a game. He's averaging almost a fantasy point per touch. What else? This guy can do it all, right? The touchdowns are there. 7 touchdowns already. He's had a ton of touchdowns last season. Was it 20? So I would trade almost anything to get James Cook. My trolling the Rashi Rice drafters during the summer, aged like milk, left out in the sun. Yeah. He's come back nicely. It hurts to hold on to him all season and he didn't do much, but the fact that he's come back and he seems to be fitting in nicely is pretty gratifying. Let's just hope it can continue and all that good stuff. Yo, what up, John B? How we doing, brother? Good to see you. Frizzle, as always. Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways, right? Because I wish I had more Javonte. Do we want Bam? I don't really want Bam that badly. I can probably free agent pick him up if I don't get Tracy because I have bad waiver priority. I would. Yeah, free pickup for Bam is worth it, but I wouldn't spend that much. Who do I flex this week? Says Frizz, Ill, Tajay Spears, Bill, Corey Krosky Merritt, Watson, who I assume is Christian Watson. Nice. Or Kyle Monangai. I mean, honestly, give me Christian Watson until further notice. Looks like he's kind of a nice piece. Like 80 yards or whatever he had his first game back, if I'm not mistaken. Tajay Spears would be second, and then Kyle Monaghan third. Bill, sadly, fourth. If Jaden Daniels is back, I'm more interested in Bill. The matchups this week, Bill's going against a tough Seattle defense on Sunday Night Football. Don't love that. Tajay is playing a Los Angeles Chargers defense. Seems fine. It's been interesting to see how Tajay is getting used. Christian Watson and the Packers would face Carolina at home. That can be kind of a tough defense, but the Packers are huge favorites. So, is that better for the run game? Can Christian Watson still get his, break a big play? I think I like that for Christian Watson. Kyle Monaghan against the Cincinnati Bengals is a kind of a smash spot, a great matchup. So that might be another sneaky good one, which might make me slightly put Monaghan up even further ahead of Bill, and then maybe slightly ahead of Tajay, because I just don't want to trust Tennessee Titans to score touchdowns. And I think the Bears can score touchdowns against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. So thinking of all that, I think it's Christian Watson for me, then slightly behind him, Kyle Monaghan, and then slightly behind him, Tajay Spears. And then without Jaden Daniels, Bill's definitely last. And with Jaden Daniels, he's still last. But yeah, half-point PPR, I feel that. Yeah, what's up, PC? How we doing, brother? Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Thanks for stopping in. John B. Hey, what up, man? Won your damn matchup. Love to see it. Full PPR, super flex, 2 QBs. Had no QBs and 1 completely empty spot and still won. Let's go. Legend. Freaking legend. I wish that was the case for me. I lost in my home league. Again, I went to 2-6. I really need Bucky back. And having Jahmyr Gibbs on a bye last week, I just couldn't overcome it. I started Brashard Smith. Terrible. Make sure, if you guys just tuned in, make sure you've liked the stream. Help me out. Help me help you. Like the stream. Come say what up in the chat. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. You can follow me on Twitter at FFB Garage. I'll follow you back. All that good stuff. You'll know when I'm going live. I also broadcast to Twitter, not only YouTube. And then make sure you tune in tomorrow night as well on the channel here. We're going to have Who Hames and Hartman on for our weekly Wednesday look ahead show to week 9, drafting battle royales on Underdog, drafting dog bowl qualifiers on Underdog, talking everything week 9 with you guys in the chat, and looking ahead at the main slate matchups. And I'm going to put some data together tonight for a little game tomorrow we're going to play to start this stream off. Maybe the first 25, 30 minutes, we're going to do a game looking at some rest of season outlook for players. So it'll be fun. John B says, hype about Woody, hoping he has a good week. Yes. Yeah, I know, John. Me and you were together, right? Like the same thought. We think it can continue to be more and more of a Woody Marks show for the Texans going forward. I'm in. Drop Kyle Pitts for Gadsden or Mason Taylor. Bro, drop everything for Gadsden. I mean, drop Kyle Pitts in an instant for Gadsden. For Mason Taylor, I'd probably hold on to Kyle Pitts. I think it's real close, though, and some people might think otherwise. But Gadsden, to me, right now is like worth his weight in gold. Yeah, for sure, Gadsden, right? Monaghan versus Bengals is my call. I think that's totally fair, Who Names. I think that's a good call. PC says grab Goff, Darnold, or Kyler rest of season. Give me Goff because of the weapons and the high floor. Darnold has been nice, though. Darnold's a nice piece. Kyler is the disappointing one I don't want. Goff or Darnold plus Kyler as insurance. Just traded Caleb Williams for Vidal. Thanks. Interesting. Yeah. I honestly prefer Goff and Darnold over Kyler. I don't think that's that crazy. Let's look at QB performances for the first or the last 5 games on a per game basis. Understanding they've all played a bye. They all had a bye in week 8. Goff, Darnold, or Kyler Murray. I mean, looking at it so far, I would go, it's Darnold averaging 18.6 fantasy points in recent games. Kyler at 16.7 and Goff at 15.5. So, Goff lower than I expected. I'm still in on Goff over Murray, regardless of that. So much better in the passing game. Kyler gets there with a rushing touchdown and some rushing yardage. But Goff, so much better with passing touchdowns, passing yardage. How does Kyler even have 16.7? Only 2 games played because Kyler missed time, so it's a smaller sample size. Okay, that actually makes way more sense. I was getting confused there for a second. Still, yeah, easily give me. I mean, Darnold. I know this. I know this to be true. Darnold's been that guy. He's been putting up numbers. I think it's hard to deny. JSN's definitely a part of it, and he scrambles a little bit more than Goff does. Are the Lions better? Yes. Is Goff a better quarterback than Darnold? Yes. Is Darnold doing better in fantasy right now than Goff? Also true, yes. But personally, I would grab Goff and Darnold rest of season. Why not get them both? Drop Brashard Smith for Tootin. I think the chat, we're kind of in on holding Brashard Smith right now because of Pacheco being out. But man, I started him last week and it hurt my lineup a lot. So I'm a little bit burned. Titans tickets at $24 is so sad. Oh man, Titan style. Go to some games. It's just worth being in that experience, being in the environment at that price. If it's worth you going out there, but like for me, it would be. I remember when the Texans tickets were probably never $24, but I remember when they were like $35, and that was even like 10 years ago. So with inflation, let's just say that's $50. So I mean, Titans are down bad. Definitely worth. It's like free tickets. 4-point passing touchdowns format. Yeah, still, I'm pretty out on Kyler. Oh man, yeah. 2 mules there with the Confucius quote. Love it. It's tough. It's tough. Fantasy's hard. Sometimes when we make stands on players, it can go either way, right? It's hard to make every right call. It's impossible. Drop. I'm thinking I'm Brashard Smith over Tootin for the time being, but I wish it was Tootin. I think Brashard Smith just has a path to more touches, more high value touches. As a Bucky owner, would you rather drop White or Hendy to pick up Tracy? I would drop Hendy. I'm not going to drop White. Yo, Slapsky, how we doing, brother? Top 5 waiver pickups this week. Hey, PC, thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. Hope you have a great week ahead. Tune in for more shows. Got another show Wednesday night coming up. I typically go live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then either Friday or Saturday, or sometimes both. But I take off Thursday because we watch Thursday Night Football. Take off Sunday football, all that stuff. Take off Monday because Monday Night Football, all that stuff. So if there's not football on, I might be streaming talking fantasy football. Top 5 waiver pickups this week for me. I think we all agree Tyrone Tracy's kind of one of them. Brashard Smith actually might be one of them because of the Pacheco injury, although he had a terrible week last week. Who else comes to mind? People have been discussing Bam Knight could be one of them. People have been talking about Tank Bigsby in deep leagues if we actually think Saquon's hurt, but I don't think he really is. Check to see which QBs are available. People drop QBs during the week 8 bye. Check to see if Troy Franklin's available. Troy Franklin's available in my 10-team home league right now. I'm putting waivers to try to get him. Just kind of conflicted on who to drop because I don't need any other wide receiver help. I actually need all of the running backs I can get. So not the top priority for me, but he should be owned. And then I'll throw out, tight ends. Look at which tight ends are still available. Is Harold Fannin available? Is Aronde Gadsden available? If Aronde Gadsden's available in your league, he is the top waiver pickup across all positions, even over Tyrone Tracy. And then, worst case scenario, you need a running back, but you waivered Gadsden. You trade him for a running back. You can get a lot more than Tracy for him. Double posting? Bro, never bothers me. Don't worry about it. Actually, comments on my videos, always appreciated. I will say, if I'm not live and you ever want to reach out to me, you can comment on any of my past videos. with any of your waiver, sit, start, trade questions, and I will answer it. 9 out of 10 times, I'll answer it within an hour or two whenever I just look at my phone and see that I have a new comment. But 10 out of 10 times, I will answer it before the end of the day because apparently comments are good on videos. So, it helps me out, helps support the channel, the comments on the videos, and I'm happy to help you guys out. And that's one way you can contact me. If not, you can follow me on Twitter at FFB Garage, and then you can screenshot, send pictures, all that good stuff. Yo, what's up, Xavier? How we doing, brother? I'm not a Titans fan, by the way. Just from gaming stuff, I'm a Birds fan. Oh, go Birds. That's hilarious, Titan. Xavier says, good trade. James Cook and Tedroy McMillan for Chase Brown and Zay Flowers. Give me the side with James Cook and Tedroy McMillan. I hope you're on that side. I know Chase Brown kind of had a big bounce back week, but we've been pretty out on Chase Brown all season. That was like his only good game of the whole season. Zay Flowers with Lamar Jackson back is actually pretty nice. So should, Zay Flowers with Lamar Jackson back versus Tedroy McMillan rest of the season, probably closer than you think. I'm definitely in on James Cook, though. I think James Cook is the best player in this trade and definitely the one I want. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys for being here tonight. That's all for me. I got to run. I got to go, but it was fun as always. I hope I helped you guys out. Help me out by liking the stream. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment afterwards. Like I said, I'll follow up with you, and I'll catch y'all live here tomorrow night with Hartman and Huhames as we continue to look forward to the Week 9 fantasy football matchups. Catch y'all in another one soon. Peace.